Congolese authorities announced a 4-month ban on cobalt exports in February this year in a bid to regain control over prices and stabilize the market. The global supply of the mineral used in rechargeable batteries for electric vehicles and electronic devices had dropped to a 9-year low due to oversupply, which outstripped the demand. But the prices have now increased from $24,400 per metric ton to $34,000. The DRC government is now reviewing the ban. The country's Minister of Mines, Kizito Pakabomba, made the announcement at this year's Cobalt Congress in Singapore.
Ladies and gentlemen, a storm has erupted in global economics, and it's coming straight out of the heart of Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo, a nation too often described only by its struggles, its wars, its instability, has just shaken the world with one of the boldest economic decisions in modern history. The Congolese government has announced a total ban on the export of raw cobalt and coltan, the two rare earth minerals that form the very backbone of the global tech economy. We're talking about resources valued at over $10 trillion, enough wealth to reshape the balance of power on this planet. To put this in perspective, without cobalt, your smartphone dies. Your Tesla battery fails. Your laptop doesn't turn on. Your medical devices don't work. And without coltan, the capacitors that power every single piece of modern electronics, from iPhones to PlayStations to satellites, cease to exist. In other words, without cobalt and coltan, the U.S. tech industry collapses. Silicon Valley cannot function. Elon Musk's electric car revolution grinds to a halt. Apple cannot make the next iPhone. Google cannot power its data centers. Even the Pentagon, with its fighter jets, surveillance satellites, and missile systems, finds itself exposed. And now, Congo has said to the world, if you want our resources, you must play by our rules. For decades, the West has taken Africa's raw materials cheaply, exported them abroad, refined them in Europe, Asia, or America, and sold the finished products back to Africa at 10, 20, or 50 times the price. It was a system designed to keep Africa dependent and the West dominant. But now, that era may be over. The decision to halt raw exports means that multinational corporations cannot simply extract and leave. They will now have to invest in local Congolese refineries, factories, and industries. They will have to employ Congolese workers, train Congolese engineers, and share technology. This is more than economics. It is a revolution of dignity, a declaration of independence, a statement to the International Monetary Fund, to the World Bank, to Washington, to Brussels, and yes, to Beijing and Moscow too. Africa will no longer be a raw supplier. Africa will now be the owner of the future. Already, Western capitals are in panic mode. The IMF is warning of global instability. U.S. Congress members are holding emergency briefings. Tech giants from Apple to Microsoft are lobbying Washington to intervene. Elon Musk has already hinted at a supply crisis for electric vehicle batteries. But for Africa, for the people of the Congo, this is a moment of triumph, a moment where the tables are finally turning. And this story is just beginning. The Democratic Republic of Congo sits on land that geologists describe as a geological scandal. Why? Because beneath its soil lies one of the richest concentrations of minerals on Earth. Cobalt. More than 70% of global supply comes from Congo's Katanga region. Coltan. Over 60% of the world's reserves lie in Congo's eastern provinces. Copper, gold, diamonds, uranium. Congo has them all. But cobalt and coltan are special because they are the lifeblood of modern technology. Without them, electric cars stop, smartphones vanish, renewable energy batteries die, satellites crash. Congo is not just another African country. It is the core of the 21st century economy. Congo's tragedy is that its wealth has rarely benefited its people. Under Belgian King Leopold II, Congo was treated as a private company. Rubber, ivory, and minerals were extracted at a horrific human cost. Millions of Congolese died. In the Cold War era, Congo's uranium powered the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yet Congolese families lived in poverty. After independence, Congo's leaders who resisted Western control, like Patrice Lumumba, were assassinated, and puppet regimes were installed to keep resources flowing cheaply to the West. This history explains why Western corporations feel entitled to Congolese minerals. They have always taken them. But the new export ban marks the end of that entitlement. Let's break down just how deep this dependency goes. Apple. Every iPhone needs cobalt for its battery. Without Congo, Apple cannot manufacture its flagship product. Tesla. Elon Musk's electric car revolution depends on cobalt batteries. A cutoff from Congo means Tesla production halts. Microsoft, Google, Amazon. Their data centers rely on batteries and capacitors made with cobalt and coltan. Without them, cloud computing slows. U.S. military, fighter jets, missile systems, night vision goggles, and satellites all require tantalum capacitors from coltan. One decision in Kinshasa can bring Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and even the Pentagon to its knees. The Congolese government estimates that its cobalt and coltan reserves are worth over $10 trillion at current market values. For decades, these minerals left Congo as raw rock, earning pennies for the country while foreign companies earn billions refining them abroad. The new ban changes everything. No raw exports allowed. Companies must build refineries inside Congo. Value is captured locally through taxes, jobs, and technology transfer. This is not just a trade regulation. It is a paradigm shift. It's like Saudi Arabia banning crude oil exports and forcing the world to build refineries on its soil. The power dynamic flips overnight. Within days of the ban, Apple and Tesla stock prices dropped on Wall Street. The IMF warned of a global supply chain shock. U.S. Congress held emergency meetings about securing alternative supplies. Lobbyists for tech giants began pressuring Washington for action. But there's a problem. There is no real alternative. Australia and Canada produce some cobalt, but not enough. Recycling old batteries cannot fill the gap. Deep-sea mining is decades away and highly controversial. Like it or not, the U.S. and Europe remain chained to Congo's resources. While the West panics, China smiles. For years, Beijing has invested billions in Congo, building roads, railways, and hospitals, securing long-term mining rights, training Congolese engineers. Now, with the export ban, Chinese companies are in prime position to establish local refineries inside Congo. Instead of extracting and leaving, they can refine and sell directly from Africa. This strengthens China's grip on the global battery supply chain and weakens U.S. dominance. Russia, too, sees opportunity. Moscow offers Congo military cooperation and security training in exchange for mining deals. Russian state companies propose building smelting plants and refineries. By supporting Congo's sovereignty, Russia positions itself as an ally, while undermining U.S. influence. Congo's bold move is not isolated. Other African nations are watching closely. Zambia, rich in copper, considers banning raw copper exports. Zimbabwe already banned raw lithium exports in 2022, forcing local processing. Namibia is restricting raw mineral exports too. A wave of resource nationalism is sweeping Africa. For the first time in history, Africa is collectively saying, no more exploitation. If you want our wealth, build in Africa. The ripple effects are enormous. Short-term pain. Tech companies lose billions. Consumer electronics become more expensive. Inflation rises. Medium-term adjustment. New investments pour into Africa. New factories are built. New trade alliances form. Long-term transformation. Africa rises as a global industrial hub, not just a resource supplier. This could be the start of Africa's industrial revolution. Of course, the road ahead is not easy. Congo faces corruption risks. Will profits truly reach the people or be siphoned by elites? Security threats. Armed groups in the east of Congo may try to disrupt mining operations. Western pressure, sanctions, covert destabilization, and political interference are likely. But if Congo succeeds, it will inspire a continental shift. For ordinary Congolese, this ban could be life-changing. Jobs in new refineries and factories. Better wages. Access to training and technology. Communities benefiting from taxes reinvested in schools, hospitals, and roads. For the first time, Congo's minerals might actually improve Congolese lives, not just foreign bank accounts. Let's imagine two possible futures. Scenario A: success. Congo attracts billions in new investment. Local industries thrive. Africa becomes the new center of global tech manufacturing. The continent gains real economic independence. Scenario B: sabotage. Western powers destabilize Congo. Corruption derails reforms. Multinationals bribe officials to bypass laws. The dream of sovereignty collapses. The stakes could not be higher. By banning raw exports, Congo is sending a simple but powerful message. Africa will no longer be exploited. If you want our minerals, you must build our future with us. This message resonates not just in Kinshasa, but in Accra, in Lagos, in Johannesburg, and across the global south. The age of resource colonialism is dying. The age of African sovereignty is being born. This is not just about cobalt and coltan. It's about power. For centuries, Africa was robbed of its wealth: gold, diamonds, oil, and now rare earths. Each time, the profits flowed abroad while Africans were left with poverty. But Congo's decision changes everything. By holding $10 trillion of minerals hostage, Congo has flipped the script on global economics. The U.S. tech industry, once the symbol of innovation and dominance, now finds itself begging for access to African resources. And this is just the beginning. Imagine if Nigeria bans crude oil exports, if Zambia locks its copper, if Mali restricts gold. The Western economy, built on African extraction, would collapse overnight. For too long, the world has asked, what would happen if Africa stood up? Now, we have the answer. Congo has stood up, and the world is trembling.
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.